Otherworldly Breach is going to be rotating soon, so this is your last chance to get Warfare and Pursuit set efficiently, at least until they fix Rift. Currently, the way these sets work is that they're going to go into Rift, but farming in Breach is much more efficient than farming anywhere else because Breach only has 2 sets, so with the 50% rate to get the piece of gear that you want, it's insanely good odds compared to anywhere else. Like, farming in Breach is better than farming in a Hunt even. If they put 4 sets in a Hunt, it would still be worse than Breach. And of course, with these only being in Rift, it's not fantastic right now. Hopefully they fix it soon. But let's just quickly go over who uses these sets in case you want any. And of course, we don't have a buff event right now, which kind of sucks. But you don't get as big of a boost in terms of gear for Otherworldly Breach as you do in other stuff because the extra chance to get gear is 1 single piece of gear, and Breach already dropped 6, so it's actually not that much of an increase compared to some other stuff. It's like a 3% increase if I remember correctly. Obviously, you still do want to be on buff, but if you are missing these sets and you really want them, you don't really have a choice. Warfare increases your HP by 20%. At the start of battle, reduces or resets skill cooldowns. This is useful on characters that start with a full skill cooldown. It's not that many. Maybe units in the future will use this, but for now, I would just target the ones that actually exist. And then Pursuit increases additional damage dealt by 20%, so this is stuff like extra damage pops from 3F or Briar Witch's area, or fixed damage as well also gets affected by this, and this does not stack, so you can only have 1. So let's go ahead and take a look at who actually uses these sets. Warfare is the easier one. There's not that many units that really use this set because of how specific its condition is. So for the units that really use this set, Nodos, obviously, insanely good unit. He's kind of hard to gear is one of the things, because this Nodos guy, like, he only really wants, like, 2 stats and then, like, half stats. Because when you look at him, it's like, it's a bunch of HP, a bunch of speed, and then a little bit of crit chance and crit damage. You want 50 crit chance and 175 crit damage, everything else into speed and HP. So you kind of really need the dodge stats is the thing, and that's what makes it kind of hard to get gear for him. Like, you can see these boots, like, I need to just roll into a bunch of HP. I pretty much need like quad or penta roll boots. I could swap out some, like, there's like a bunch of stat modding that you can do to swap some stats around. Like, I get some crit damage on here if I want. I end up getting more HP with less crit damage on this. I could just put the crit damage here instead. So it's hard because you're kind of just like looking for high speed or high HP. Makes this guy a bit hard to gear. I would say generally, if you think you need a better Nodos, think about exactly what pieces you need, because it might be too much of like a chasing slash checking thing, and really low odds you might not want to target farm for him. And then there's Hakati. Hakati also needs pretty much only 2 stats, but I think you can get away with worse gear on her. She pretty much just wants, like, yeah, you just want to give her a decent bit of speed and a good bit of attack. The attack being pretty important. She's really strong. Her passive is really good, and her S3 does so much damage. I gave her immunity set just because I think it's nice to have in some cases. Especially in an arena guild war setting, I think like 200 speed with like as much attack as you can get is really nice. You don't need super good gear on her, I think. Just attack right sides, or attack accessories, the speed boot, decent bit of attack on the other pieces, and you're probably good to go. The Corvus is just an HP stacker. His S3, the Corvus is such an old unit, and being able to use S3 immediately is incredibly strong. He's great for Guild War. You have a lot of team comps where you just use him to one-shot a unit, and then you can use a ROM to reset him or something. He's good into a lot of Harsetti defenses. You pretty much just max out his HP, and then give him Thorn to Blue Rose, maybe, for the souls, and just pop something. He's kind of a unit you just kind of gear, like as you're gearing your other stuff. You just hit a bit of HP, and you give it to him. You could be pretty scuffed accessories too. You could literally make like an HP main ring and then just plus 15 it and give it to him. It doesn't really matter what you roll. It'll be good enough for you to work with. And then Fern while she does have her evasion thing, her thing is kind of that her S3 just does a ridiculous amount of damage, and I don't really have her geared right now, but she benefits really heavily from being on Warfare set just to use her stupidly high damage S3. And this has PvP and PvE use, so you can use her for the Wyvern one-shot like I showed, though it's not super necessary because there's a lot of different one-shot teams like the Salame Summer Hwayoung team. We're just running 4 ice units and sending it in because Otherworldly is not that hard. But for PvP, she also uses Warfare. You'd be looking for more DPS stats instead. And then Maya, it's also best in slot for her because her S3 is super strong. There are some kind of issues where when you do, like when you reset her S3 like that, it doesn't let you can't like S2 into S3. S2 doesn't give you an extra turn. If she gets that in like the future, that could be useful for her. But basically this unit is just not good enough in the first place. Like, it's not really worth farming for her right now because she is not good enough, but it would be her best in slot if she was. And then there's Tamarin. I don't think it really matters. Like, you're doing expeditions, you just give her speed set and it's good enough. There's no point farming for a PvE unit, I think. Maybe some content in the future really wants Warfare set on her. We did have a Hall of Trials where Warfare Tama was best in slot. I think it's not a huge deal. And then I don't believe in Warfare Lionheart serving. I think it's kind of a meme. If you do end up with the pieces for it, you can go for it, but I would not target it. And then PvE stuff, I have Straza here, there's other units here. The way PvE stages work when you have multiple waves, every single wave procs Warfare set, so you can use your skills every single wave. So some like AoE clears you could use just to reset their cooldowns over and over, and Straza of course benefits super heavily from this. Now let's take a look at the Pursuit units. So for the Pursuit units, these are the ones that I think are best slot, you just kind of really want it for them. So Renock is kind of a special case because Pursuit Renock is super strong. The problem is that you just kind of want to be fast, right? Like, this is not a fast Renock, she's on my spare gear, but if you were to make a Pursuit Renock and it would drop your speed by like 10 or something, it's hard to say that's really worth it. You're kind of just going to prioritize your speed more than anything else. You would really need some high speed Pursuit pieces for it to be worth it, but it is technically her best in slot. And then Urban Shadow Shoe, the way it works on her is, it works on her like this thing, but it also importantly works on this. The pop that she does based on the enemy's injury, because it's additional damage equivalent to the enemy's injury, this also gets increased, so it makes her S3 do a lot more damage. So Pursuit on her is really nice. These are also kind of relatively high speed pieces that you would be aiming for. I think mine should ideally be a little bit faster, but this is good enough for Guild War. Yeah, so she benefits a ton from this as well. Twisted Eidolon came out, I do not have him geared, but the way that his kit works is just this thing is like his entire kit, and you really want the extra damage on this, especially because you're not always going to get this massive 15,000 damage pop. Maybe you take your turn at like 8,000 or 9,000, and that extra 20% from Pursuit can get you into kill ranges and kill stuff a lot earlier. So Pursuit is easily best in slot on him, I think. Amiki. So Amiki is kind of an old unit. Some people do still use her, and I've heard people saying that she's getting used a bit more. But because with her, like, Uberius Tooth usage, and then she also has, like, I think it's this one. She has a bunch of additional damage in her kit anyways. She benefits a lot from Pursuit. It would increase her damage by a ton. She previously didn't really have like a real two-piece set. You would go, some people would go Immunity on her, and then if you were looking for damage, it's like, what, Pen Set or like Torrent, but most of your damage is additional damage. Now she actually does have a proper damage two-piece, so if you want to, or like if you have the pieces lying around, you can give it to her, especially because her pieces are really similar to Monarch of the Swordless Areas. And then there is a Soul Guild War unit, but she, I don't think I even like have her in my inventory, but her kit also largely revolves around like additional / fixed damage. I think it's fixed damage. Yeah, this is basically fixed damage. So it stacks. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to stack or something. I do not use this unit. Okay, here we go. Increases by 1500, stacking up to 5 times, so it goes up to like 8k, I guess. And she gets like 8k on all of her stuff. This would increase the damage, make your things go a little bit faster, if you really like Guild War that much. Okay, so Young Senya. Her gear, there's 2 ways to gear her. You can go Prot Immunity, or you can go triple set, so like Pursuit, HP, Immunity. If you need the protection set, you have to drop immunity for this if you really want to, or you just go triple set if you don't need the protection set. This can be useful, especially if you like if you want the damage and you find that you don't want protection set on her, then it's fine. I think for RTA you probably like definitely want immunity. It would mostly be picking between protection or the pursuit damage. And then if you're doing like Guild War or something, like you don't really need the immunity, just go pursuit and just make things go boom. It can be fun. Briar Witch's area, it's a very specific, like, slower Briar build on Drink, used for nuking out stuff with damage limit. This would increase the damage from Drink as well as the damage from her S2 passive, so you can use it for that use case. And then for something like Dragon King Sharoon, it's because the way that you use her is normally in combination with Renok. So doing Dragon King Sharoon plus Renok gives you extra kill ranges pretty much, because you can say that, okay, this isn't really like that much damage. All you're getting is the 4,000 from Cascade. Now times 20% is, I think it's 4,800. And you can say it's not that much damage, but it could make it so that your Renok S3 into DKS S3 actually like kills things. So I think it's nice on her if you're looking to use her for Renok Cleave. And then these are some units that can use it, like Festivita. She has her pop. I think generally you do want immunity for RTA for like buff stacking purposes, because you can get, she has stealth, you can get the immunity, and then also protection barrier. You can buff stack into a lot of stuff, but this can let you kill things better with Pursuit if you find that you don't really like the immunity that much. And then for Guild War, this gives you just more damage. You would use it for the damage. Monarch of the Swordess area, I mentioned her earlier with Amiki. They use kind of similar gear. Monarch of the Swordess area, she does a ton of fixed damage on her S1 and S3. This would just increase it. For RTA though, I think you kind of want immunity because she is just one of those super slow units. Bellion also, it increases her 3F damage / Glorious Throne, but for RTA you probably want immunity because you're slow on counter normally. And then Boss of Runka, that's actually like is like kind of a specific build, but I have her down here because I think no matter what your Boss of Runka build is for RTA, you probably want immunity. It doesn't necessarily always go Rocket Punch. Some people are on protection set plus like POV or something. So if you're doing that, then you don't have Rocket Punch, so the Pursuit is useless. But if you are going Rocket Punch / MOAS, then you could use Pursuit in like a Guild War setting. For RTA, you probably want immunity. And then these 3 units would have been super broken with Pursuit set. Like, years ago, Winter, Karina, and Rimuru all would have been pretty sick. I don't really want to think about it. I think Winter, especially, like, that one season where she was kind of good, would have been really annoying. She was kind of a pain to deal with, and giving her extra damage would not have been fun. And anybody who was there knows just how annoying Karina and Rimuru were. So that is it for the Warfare and Pursuit overview. If you find yourself needing the sets, good luck getting them, and hopefully they decide to fix Rift soon.